Come back to the discussion on politics and the church, and Senator Okongo Omogeni. My first question was if this decision can stand with the Catholic Church. And of course, even as you weigh in, remember the directive that the Catholics said. They did say they will not be receiving money, but now they're saying that the donation will either be in check or be on money transfer platform. So they think that would be the solution. What's your point this morning on this?
I think the church generally has, in the past, played a very key role in promoting good governance in society. And I think when we were in university in the 90s, the church never used to be tempted with good money. You know, you never see politicians walking to church and giving huge donations to the church. They were in the forefront for fighting for good governance, accountability, openness in society. And that's how we knew the church. We knew the church as somebody who was not very friendly to corrupt politicians, so people who are not promoting good governance in society. And I think that's where we lost it. I don't know when we went through this transformation where there was an unholy alliance between the church and politicians, where we made the church to be the good hunting ground for us, hunting ground for politicians, where you go to church, donate money in the hope that it will return. In return, yeah. Yes. Like what I have seen, I think I saw a pastor in Meru, saying,
those are political statements.
Yeah, he said, "Kieleweke 2022 mutajua mukuelewa." So I applaud the step being taken by the Catholic Church, because I think what we need, Ken, we want to understand the source of your money. If the Catholic Church and other churches can say, you are welcome to come to church and make your donation, but do it through checks, swipe your card, so that we know this is money you're giving back. Is the way the DP is saying, it is blessed to give, but let it come from money that you have genuinely earned. Okay. We know even internationally, Bill Gates gives a lot of money, but I've never seen him arrive in Kenya with a briefcase at Jomo Kenyatta and say, I'm carrying $1 million in briefcase, and then come and donate it to us. No, he will do it through electronic money transfer. Why? Because you are able to trace the source of this money, yes, and you're also able to deal with tax issues. Because if you make so much, we don't want that money just to end up in church. We want you to give to church, but we also want you to be taxed so that the poor Kenyans who need services, health, roads, can benefit from your well and cash. Ground for money laundering. Okay. Because let's call a spade. We steal, and then we go to church to donate money so that we can look popular. That's what we need to bring to an end. And Dibal, when I grew up in an SDA church in a village called Tinderet, my community built a permanent SDA church. I never saw, not even a councillor, not an MP, not a minister, who came there to donate money to that church. It is the locals who pulled resources together and they built that church.
However long it took to build the church.
Yes, because you are building a church for that community, is for your children to go to church, for you to go to church, and you should be proud of it. Yes. Now we have reached a situation where you want to take Omogeni from Nairobi to go to Meru to go and contribute for construction of a church there. What are the locals supposed to do? They are supposed to pull resources together and do the construction of a church. If this can work, I don't know. Whether it will work is another debate. But if we were to have this discipline in church, where we go there, if I have cash, let the priest tell me, we don't want your cash. Write a check. Yes. There is no politician in this country who does not walk around with a checkbook. Let Nyikal write a check to his church. Let Alice Wahome do it. Let the DP do it. Let the president do it. If not, tell them, I'm wiring this money to your account. Give me your account. Because it's not like you must carry money and give them. Tell them, give me your account number. I'll wire money to your account. That way we'll be able to promote accountability and good governance. Finally, you even saw the desperation from EACC. It took one day, and the CEO was there responding and said, please, the church, we applaud you and we hope that you can implement this. Why? Even within the radar of EACC, they know only that they have done nothing. They know that corrupt money ends up in church. We use the church to launder corrupt money. It's a problem that we must deal with as a country.
Okay, very interesting. But even at the back of that, the success of what they're talking about, I mean, less than 24 hours later, Alice, this had been violated. The same churches offered that platform to politicians.
Okay, allow me, Ken, to actually join my colleagues to condole and mourn with Bonnie Harware. It's sad also because his wife died because of cancer. That is still a challenge to the country. I also would like to mourn Mariam and Amanda, who are still being recovered from the bottom of the sea, and call to the question of security and capability of the government to actually respond to some of these disasters. And finally, Ken, I also would like to mourn a young man who died in my constituency 2 days ago because of a quarry disaster which collapsed. NEMA has never been in that area, and I have like 30 quarries along the river, and I hope that they would be responding because of that. Finally, I want to say that, yes, it is true. There is every member of parliament. If this is targeted, it's targeting members of parliament and politicians and elected leaders. Every elected person, and even those who have lost, are culprits in terms of giving money to church functions. But I would like to see it differently, because we never go there without being invited. It's the church that has involved us in its activities. Yes, maybe they think this will assist one way or the other, or the sins that are coming to the churches. Do you know, Ken, whenever campaigns start, you would never be invited to that function alone. You would be invited with another 10 people, so that it's like they want to bring conflict between all of you lining up there. And me personally, in principle, I hardly attend a church, especially in my constituency, when we are invited with the cards, like 5 of us. I normally avoid, because I don't think I want to be party to that, because I can see the deceit, not necessarily from the politicians, also from our church. I think the church should interrogate the activities. The bigger question is the church should interrogate the activities that it is actually also putting on the community, on the Christians. Every day there is a different type of, not just tithing, there is a different type of function from the fundraising, from the youth, the women council or mothers union or CWAs, the chamas for wazes. All these become a big burden to the communities, and they are also being required to support the church, administration. So therefore, when you now say, how will the mama in the village contribute? Will she also bring by way of a check? Will you know whether she actually took a banana from her neighbor? Will you know where the young man who has walked there, whether he took a chicken?
I think so, the issue is not with the small donations that look fairly normal.
No. You know, this is where we are losing it. Yes. The small donations amount to the big donations.
Yes.
And I think, therefore, for me, it's not the donations. It's how the church also is working out its activities. I think the church is part and parcel of this problem, and if they want to do it, they must go to the reasons why we are actually taking money to the church. And root out that one first and foremost, because there are very many unnecessary activities that they are doing which we don't need, maybe, in my view. But and therefore, if anybody thought that the bishop's communication had reached the grassroots, then they were out for a surprise, because also there are governance structures in the church that then would require the communication to be disseminated. So I don't think what happened over Sundays was in any way irregular. If they want to implement it, I think now they will now go to the bishops, then in the constituencies, the parishes, local churches. But finally, I want to bet, Ken, that will not succeed. The church
that resolution will not succeed. It's a waste of time.
I don't want to say. I don't want to say it's a waste of time. I think it is the dynamics of that, because people, I mean, you and I have gone to the local church. You see, those people will always want to invite their member of parliament.
Okay,
so if you ask me to do a check, for example, I don't donate. I've never done. maybe one or twice. I wouldn't say I have never, but it is not a practice that I like myself.
Okay.
Because you know also transacting with checks can also be complicated in terms of how you know.
And politicians have been known to this.
Yes. And if not how you pay your taxes.
Yes.
Sometimes you may have 2 minute transactions and that you are doing, and then you find that this one party that you account. Forget that even the balances are not well. So me, it's very risky. One check for a member of parliament or for anybody seeking a need to bounce, or it's a criminal offense. But one check to go wrong because maybe they took it.
Do an RTGS. There's an option of RTGS. You don't have to do a check.
Who has the time for all that?
But you see, if you have the time to travel over.
I can tell you myself.
Yes.
I can reach those Christians in many ways. I don't have to be bogged down to doing RTGSs, to doing checks. I want to donate the way I feel I want to donate. I don't want I don't want to be regulated in the manner in which I tithe or the manner in which and I can tell you, personally, I would rather not go. So
the fact that they're saying that it means they're locking out other politicians. But my interest is even in the kind of institution that made this rule.
By politics. This is a bigger question. Professor Manyora said, there is a lot of politics in church. And church has always been political. Why are we pretending that church is just a holy ground?
Mheshimiwa, I don't think anyone who wants to genuinely donate to church should resist these very small rules.
I don't see a problem.
Let me ask you, are you saying, if the politicians, I have just said, politicians, many times they attend because of pressure from the church activities.
Yes, but Senator is saying something.
It is nothing to, they don't go necessarily for worship. And these are the things that people don't say. Even these guys here are pretending they know.
I know, and
they don't go to worship.
We'll call them out.
I call spade spade.
We'll not spare them.
I call spade spade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Ken, there's nothing about pretense. What we are saying, if you are going to church and giving your 5,000, 10,000, we have no problem. But we transact, Dibal. This issue of using electronic means of payment, it happens day in, day out. If you want to go to church in Meru, you can go to the bank, ask your balance, do an electronic transfer to the account. But what I want to say is, the defiance you are saying from Mheshimiwa here is the same defiance. Is the same defiance I saw just yesterday. The DP actually walked to church in Meru, and they responded to the Catholic Church the same day and gave cash.
Let me say one thing. In a country where we are worried about corruption, where we are worried about sources of money, to insist that we use money in a way that is traceable is a principle that we should not fight.
Yes.
Actually, for me, I've always done my donations and those arambes in checks. What I normally tell them, I'm sure this check
and they don't bounce.
They don't bounce.
Okay.
They've never bounced. Because again, if we can say that we cannot keep track of the
amount of money we have in the bank because of
that is actually in itself is a problem. So really, if we as leaders are saying we cannot track our transactions, we cannot be sure whether when we are given a check
issue a check that's
but the bigger principle is the issue we have in the country is people have money, we do not know where it is coming from. Two, we are monetizing politics.
Yes,
those are the
we're
two
buying
issues.
it.
In the question of source of money, we really must accept that people should use money in a way that is traceable, particularly certain amounts of money. And that, if we refuse that, then our intentions
If I want to donate 5 million, for example, I will have to write 5 checks. I mean, that's really difficult for a politician. But you wanted to say something, Mheshimiwa?
To be honest with you, I am confused.
With what?
With the logic that my colleague Alice is making.
Yes.
What is the issue on the table? The issue on the table is we have the political class where we, according to what Mama Alice is saying, the church is forcing us to go and donate money. But because we donate this money, we don't want to account for it. And we know that one of our biggest problems in this country is basically corruption. Corruption is having acquired or gained money from sources which cannot be accounted for, and we even don't want to account how this money is being spent. In fact, for me, I would even take it a step further, and it may be controversial, and it may actually be something that very many churches may not agree with me. We also would want the parishioners to know, after you've given this church the money, if you contribute money on a monthly basis, and some churches are actually doing it. And what has shocked me, I can give you a small example, Ken. There's a church in Kisii Township. It is a Catholic church. And this church has actually raised money from parishioners. Yes, the politicians, we have been going there and donating money, reasonable sums or whatever the amount has been. But this church has been built with 100 million. They are at about 102 million shillings from the parishioners. So I went to ask, what is it that has made this church raise that kind of money? And when I asked to 2 or 3 of the Christians, they told me, we know this project is actually being managed by the Bishop of Kisii and the Vicar General. The Vicar General, every time the money is raised, he puts the figure on the table. Then he says, we are taking to one by this. From what our big, yes, from what these BQs are, we were told that roofing will cost us 27 million.
Okay.
We have raised 19 million or as continually and consequentially. By the time they reached the 27 million, the roof was done.
Okay.
The internals, the timber they have put, most of it came from Congo. The classical, unique African Bordeaux and those type of, you can see the money.
Okay.
So where we are, this is a church where if you go to that church today and listen to the Christians and talk to them, I can tell you, Ken, it is shocking. They have 4 masses, and every mass, the Christians raise 2 million.
How?
Every Sunday. That's what they raise. So you don't need a politician to take 19 million to Kisii Catholic Church for him to think that they are going to be voted for. When I go there, I go and give 20,000 or 50,000. And
but the church will fault you. They'll say, but
no. The church doesn't fault me. What the church does,
yes,
if you contribute money and you tell them this is what I have,
they'll accept it.
They'll accept it.
Okay.
But if you've been going there giving them $1 million,
you can't go with 20,000.
and then you go with 20,000, they will not accept.
Close this
the bigger problem.
Yes.
You see, I think, why do churches want to put up big structures?
Correct.
In Europe and elsewhere in the world today, these churches are all empty. Nobody's going there. Why don't you just put up something reasonable? It's a disease that is inflicting us in this country. Governors want to put up mansions, everything we want to do. Look at this bridge, 210 billion.
Which already people are talking about.
Then I went looking at what China put between the Chinese mainland and Hong Kong. At 2 trillion, which is a tenth of this, is 55 kilometers long. Part of it is 7 kilometers underwater to allow the ships, and because of the Hong Kong airport, for planes to take off and maybe land, it has gone under 7 kilometers. It is 55 long. It is about many lanes, a road of many lanes. It has terrible features. If it was Kenya, I might tell you, this would, so why do churches want to put up such a big, humongous structures? What for? Why can't they borrow from the Baptist church, I think, which do things within their own? It is the congregation that does most of the thing. Or like Muslims, you never see people contributing. But rich people even put up mosques. An individual can just put up a mosque. And you may not even know who did it. If we must do those churches, why must we publicize?
You donate 20 million, they never declare.
Muslims don't do that, and it works.
In fact, I'm a Christian. If you read Exodus 25,
yes.
When Jesus wanted to build a synagogue, he asked people to bring in their donations, and they never announced.
They never announced.
And I even belong to a church, Nairobi Chapel, here in Nairobi. If you go along Gong Road, we have done big tents that we brought in from South Africa. That money was raised by the congregation. Okay. For the last 8 years, I've never seen a politician step into Nairobi Chapel to donate money. Nairobi Chapel. Nairobi Chapel along Gong Road. The point I'm making is,
it's
not SDA, it's not an SDA. And that has purely been done by the congregation. They make a campaign, and I've given checks to that church. Nobody in that church even knows what I've ever given. And I don't know what people who attend that church have ever given.
Yes.
You don't need to come to church and announce that I'm bringing 2 million.
5 million, 2 million.
Because God will look at the heart of the person giving, not what you announce to the
But if you look at churches again, Senator, what has been happening in the recent past, even to gain control of the church, there's been a lot of politics, even in the big positions that are taken up in church. It's been politicized, such that even churches go there, or I mean leaders in church go there with a political mind. They want to be the ultimate, because there's a lot of money involved in the church nowadays. There's a lot, like the SDA church here, the politics that was played, and it's not an isolated case.